still dreaming about that girl. Go, you know you want this, Edmund. You know you want it. You stay away from me, you bitch. You promised me everything, and I got shit in return.
I was looking at this. I was like, did I miss a part where she had sex with this guy because she has fucked with his head? Like he can't get her. He can't get that bitch out of his mind.
Yeah, and then you have the chick who all she wants to do is the younger girl.
Lucy.
All Lucy can think about is being beautiful like my sister. And I'm like, wow, your sister's okay, but she ain't even Paris Hilton. But
your sister looks like you with makeup on.
I know.
Baby, just put on some lipstick
with bigger lips.
And bigger lips, yeah, and a bigger gap in her tooth, and and darker hair. And it's like,
she's so beautiful,
girl. You know what, dude? You shut up, dye your hair, put some lipstick on, put on a nice dress, and shut the fuck up.
I know, but,
you're beautiful.
Hey,
but that's true. It was a lot of things going on, because what we're talking about here is that throughout the film, there are certain things that happen, like they get attacked by invisible creatures. They have to go into a hidden fortress or a mansion. But the biggest thing is that the island, even though it's far away, is coming. Just like in most fantasies, there is some sort of force that messes with their minds and brings up all their biggest fears and nightmares. So it was always something to keep this going with the characters. You're right about that.
Even when some of those things reminded me of other movies that we recently saw, I was like, oh wow, something's making these two buddies become foes and talking a lot of mad shit about each other. And boy, they're about to get into it.
It's on. But that's what I'm talking about. This takes every element. This series is kind of behind the game, given that we do have not only bigger fantasy, but fantasy in the form of trilogies. Lord of the Rings are several films, Harry Potter, and this is the one that is sort of, it feels like it's just taking the leftovers are the same themes of those films.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really do anything different with them. It's just, hey, we're just doing it in a different movie.
It's trying so hard to, and that's the hard part. I mean, making a movie like this is a fucking challenge, especially writing it, because people who aren't familiar with this series, they've already seen these themes in other films, like I said, and it's hard to try to be faithful to a book. It's like, oh, so many of these other goddamn movies have ripped it off. I mean, it's like, this isn't going to be new to anybody, but how can we make it fresh? And I think they did a good job by just staying at least as true as possible to the source material.
Yeah,
and really flesh out those characters. I thought those actors still did a good job, even though more than likely I'll forget about this movie in 2 more days.
It's true. No,
but the thing is, watching it, I mean, it did make me think about the past movies and about their characters.
Yeah,
which I thought was, they made me interested in those characters again.
I thought these kids had come along. I think I agree. I thought these kids came along very well, being that they had to carry the movie on their own. Like Edmund is played by Skandar Keynes and Kanye West, and Lucy is Georgia Henley, and so now they don't have the other older actors to carry them through, which is William Moseley as Peter and Anna Popplewell as these old British crazy ass names, Mary Poppin ass names they got as Susan, but they don't have them to help them along. They have to carry the movie more themselves,
right.
and I think that they do that pretty well. And as we said, the kid who played Eustace, he did a pretty good job for like I said, the later half of the movie. I thought he was kind of annoying at first. Michael Apted is the guy who directed this film. He took over from I think one of the guys a guy named Andrew Adamson, who directed a lot of Shrek movies.
Oh, really?
I think he directed The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe too. I'm not sure, but Michael Apted is a guy he's done a lot of documentaries. He's most famous probably for doing like the 21 I think 21 Up, where he like skipped years between people. He followed people up until they were 21, but he followed them since they were kids.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, directed some TVs, but it shows that he is a documentary filmmaker, both in good ways and bad ways. Sometimes he uses like a shaky cam, and it feels like it's making this fantasy world a little more grounded. And for a guy who directed documentaries and some television stuff, he handles the special effects very well.
Yeah, I mean, you telling me that he did documentaries, I'm like, wow, he's done a lot better than some directors who've been like, I'll say Chris Columbus.
Yeah.
I mean, where it's like the one cool thing about this movie is like, yeah, the middle part, it does kind of slow the movie down a bit.
Can I ask you something real quick? Because before we can stray too far, like one of the parts I thought that he did not do well, there are some fight scenes when it's funny because when he's doing fight scenes with creatures, and fantasy stuff and monsters, they seem pretty cool. But when he has people fighting, it seems like a TV movie. Do you remember that scene where they go to they find the slave traders and they get into the big fight, and the camera work in that I thought was pretty bad. The fight itself is just underwhelming.
Yeah, you know what? Something like that, though, it's hard to just blame the director, because a lot of times fights like that, if they're not involving the main actors, sometimes are done by second unit or third unit. So that could have been a mistake due to somebody else directing the action. So
Michael Apted is like,
yeah,
don't blame me.
Even though all the blame still gets thrown at the director.
Yeah.
Usually, if there are fights, they have fight directors who go in there. They usually fuck that shit up.
Fight club.
But the thing is like what I was going to say was that this guy, with the kind of background he has, towards the end of this film, there's a great like action set piece involving a serpent, and these people on this boat. And it worked. It was really cool. It was the one thing that actually made me really wake up, because it's as late as it was while we were watching that movie. That part I was really just like, okay, this is fucking cool, man.
Man, that serpent that we see, there's a climax that involves a sea serpent, and not only was the design of that creature pretty badass, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But the scene that they were, I mean, it kind of plays on every nightmare you've had about being attacked by a sea monster out in the middle of sea with nowhere to go, because this creature just engulfs the whole Dawn Treader, and you don't know how they're gonna get out of it. Like, you're not tearing this boat apart.
Yeah.
But it's there are so many cool visual effects in this and mysteries that I think for young children it's something that will keep them going. The only thing that I think would be bad for very young children is that sea serpent scene, because it is kind of scary, but the rest of the movie is kind of light. The complaints that I praise this movie a lot, but some of the complaints that I have are the complaints that I've had from the last movies. Before I get into that, I have to say we've mentioned some returning characters. One of my favorite characters that I'm glad that they built up a little bit more is Rippy Cheap. That mouse,
that fucking mouse.
Yeah,
I'm always waiting for a mouse to annoy the hell out of me. But in this movie, I actually grew to like him.
Well, they replaced, and maybe this is the thing. He was voiced by Simon Pegg, and Simon Pegg replaced Bill Nye and Eddie Izzard as a voice, because Michael Apted thought, like, well, I want him to sound a little bit younger, be a little more spirited, and I think having Simon Pegg in there was actually pretty cool.
Wow, okay, you just blew my mind. I had no idea that was Simon Pegg.
Yeah, that was Simon. I didn't know that either, man.
I liked him. I liked that character in this movie.
I do too, even though they say, man, he keeps saying, when I was the mouseling, I'm just a mouse, and look at what I can do. And it's like, you ain't no fucking mouse. That's a rat. You see the size of that thing, man?
Big ass fucking river rat.
Yeah, that's a New York sewer rat, man. Yeah. That motherfucker talking about from Narnia. No, you're not. You from Brooklyn.
You just got lucky because you were born with a lighter shade of fur.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
a little bit more privilege.
You were able to
river rats.
Yeah, you were able to pass.
Yeah.
But I tell you, if that mouse, he's walking around that sword, beating up fantasy creatures. I know if he was in Brooklyn, he'd be mugging people for their wallets. Give me that wallet, bitch. That ain't no fucking mouse.
Babies.
Yeah, I'm a mouse.
Market.
Bigger than a possum. You see when he's standing next to Aslan, he came up to like Aslan's face almost, and it's like, what, a mouse? That ain't no mouse I know. Oh, no. It's a mutant mouse. But
that mouse is
people. But I thought Simon Pegg did great with that character.
Wow.
The returning is Liam Neeson as Aslan, who, okay, so here's some of my complaints that I've had. Now, one, I guess I can't complain too much. Maybe in this movie it was obvious, and maybe this is from the books, but they pretty much, and I don't know, people tell me if I'm wrong if I have it here, but I think that this is an allegory for Christianity, and I think Aslan is supposed to symbolize Jesus.
Because that was like the biggest argument about the first movie. I mean,
yeah.
A lot of people, some people were complaining like, they're bringing God into this. Oh God, don't fuck up my shit.
Well, I'm not complaining about that. It's just
I get it, but no, it is. I mean, when you watch this movie, I mean, it really.
I just don't know if it's from the books. Maybe a complaint is the wrong word, because I mean, I think in this movie, this is the movie where Aslan just comes out and is like, yeah, I'm Jesus. What's up?
In other worlds, I have different names, but
but I'm God.
Pretty much.
And
that didn't really that aspect of it didn't even really bother me.
No, I'm just saying if it wasn't in the books and they're making it that overt in the movies, then I'm kind of bothered by that. But
likely it'll piss off Cyrus, of course.
Of course, yeah. God damn it, that goddamn lion is Jesus. Can you believe that? No, lion, I know it's Jesus.
He didn't die for my sins. Nobody died for me. Nobody.
No lion dies for my sins. But if it's in the book, then cool, whatever. I had no problem with that. If the author meant for that, C.S. Lewis meant for that, then okay, whatever. But my complaint is that. And this is something that harkens back to the book, but I just don't like that. These kids, they get their asses handed to them so many times. And then at the last minute, Aslan decides to show up. Hey, so somebody call? And his kids are just like, we just got the shit kicked out of us. Where were you?
I've been hanging out in that mirror over there. I'm not really supposed to be coming over here, So.
I'm sorry. No. I was taking a leak. Did y'all call?
It's funny because these kids are supposed to be kings and queens, but with the last two movies, I never really got the idea that wow, these kids are royalty and they're supposed to be these great warriors, but they still look like fucking punk ass kids to me.
That's what I'm saying.
They really haven't fought any screaming dragons or I haven't seen them fight Skeletor yet, so I don't know. I never really bought into the idea, but with this one, it seemed like everything that I was kind of looking for in those past two movies. This movie kind of delivered on, especially with the ending.
I thought so too, and I see what people mean by this is better than Prince Caspian, because if I recall, I was kind of bored by Prince Caspian. This definitely is, regardless of people saying that this is a slow film, it's not that exciting. I thought it was a little more exciting and adventurous than Prince Caspian. I can understand why it's probably a more popular book. And I have to say, at the end of the movie, I found it pretty emotional. I mean, I wasn't up to but I was saying, well, I now realize I cared more for these characters than I did, especially with the consequences that they have to deal with. I won't say what those are, and it's nothing big, but it's just, I found myself really feeling for those characters.
Yeah, same here, and it's surprising that all I needed was this one movie to do it. I really didn't have to go back to the other two.
No,
it was pretty much kind of self-contained, and I liked that.
Yeah, because to be honest, call me stupid, I don't remember those other movies.
How can anybody? I mean, those movies seem like they came out 5 years ago. I mean,
there was a lion and a wardrobe and a closet and a prince. That's all I know.
Yeah,
you gotta have to give me the cliff notes after that, because I don't know what happened. So yeah, man, not a full price, because I said this is familiar territory, but I give it a matinee.
No, I'd give it a matinee only because I was really expecting not to be interested and just not to care about this movie. But towards the slower part, that's when I started getting interested, and near the end, I was really invested in what was going on, and I had a good time. I actually had fun watching it, and I even liked. I thought there was a much more emotional impact dealing with one of the characters than there was with the other fantasy movie that we just saw recently, to where I was like, oh man, that is kind of a bummer. That's kind of sad. This feels more honest than what that other fantasy movie did with a character that just kind of pulled a character out of their ass.
You about to stirring up the heat again.
I don't want to stir up nothing. I'm just being honest with it.
No, I hear you.
I thought they did a good job with doing that, So with the guys. But regardless, I'm matinee. I'm giving it a matinee.
No, we're those guys that surprisingly like the movie, and look, we're well aware what is getting on Rotten Tomatoes. We're well aware what the critics are saying. I can't agree with them, even though I'm probably in a minority. I like the movie. Only thing I can say is, Aslan needs to get a new cell phone plan, because apparently when these kids are calling him, he ain't picking up, until the last minute. It's like, come on, man. Please, answer the phone sometime.
Uraka Fiji. No, you're not Aslan.
Now is the time to be strong. Never give in. Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. In digital 3D, directed by Michael Apted.